We're rolling.
Welcome to the REI Rookies Podcast.
The Real Estate Investing Rookies Podcast, episode number 92, where we invite you to follow us on our journey towards financial freedom using the power of real estate. I'm Josh Koth.
And I'm Jack Haas.
And here at REI Rookies, we believe in a couple key principles. Number one, the best way to retain information is by teaching it to others. And number two, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're not competitors. We're a community. So let's get into some real estate investing.
So this episode is spurred on by a recent pleasant interaction you had with somebody at our P.O. box, right, Josh?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We get lots of angry calls in response to our direct mail. People just, for some reason, get very worked up about you sending them a postcard that says, "I'd like to buy your house." They just get mad. And it's kind of funny being on the receiving end of that, because for us, it's just another day occurrence. We're sending hundreds of these out every week. We're not worried about it. It's just another mail piece. And I was at our UPS store, P.O. box, and the guy must have recognized our business name from my car, because we have the back windows of our cars wrapped with our logo and information. And I was walking in, he was walking out, and he saw my car, and he said, "Is that your outfit?" I said, "Yeah, that's my company." "Oh, I just was leaving a note in there telling you guys to go away and go to hell." And then we proceeded to have a pretty confrontational conversation about how we should just leave him alone. And I was getting defensive, and it wasn't my best moment. He was getting all mad. I was getting mad. Didn't end great. He just kind of stormed off, and I said, "Oh, Merry Christmas to you." And, he got so angry, and I thought it was so interesting. And I at one point I said to him, is your next stop Walgreens and Walmart and Pizza Hut and literally almost every other business that sends out flyers and mailers trying to get you to utilize their services? Is that, what was it about our mail piece that actually had him look up our address, go down there, write a note, and want to confront us face to face? And I thought, what a waste of time that is. What wasted energy. How many junk mail pieces does he get a week or a day? And how many do you get a day? Does the average person get a day? And what would make you so angry that you would go down to that company's address and want to confront them? What I do when I get a pile of junk mail, I do a quick sort, right? Okay, this is real mail, junk mail, junk mail. Grab the real mail pile, the junk mail pile goes in the recycling bin. That's it. I think no further about it. And I thought it was so interesting that this gentleman was so worked up and so hot about it that he had to take time out of his day to confront the senders of this mail. And I thought, what a waste of his time. It's kind of sad, because he was not moving his life forward, not helping himself out in any way. It might feel good to have a confrontation and confront someone sometimes, but how is that really moving you forward and helping you at all?
Yeah, it's really hard to know what would have spurred this. I sometimes feel, trying to be empathetic and understand the situation there. People seem to, instead of seeing it as an opportunity to possibly solve a problem, they see it as being taken advantage of.
Right, or like we're being predatory in some way.
Yeah, so in turn, then they react accordingly. That whatever is spiraling out of their life, they don't have very much control over. So this is a way for them to gain some of that control.
It's kind of funny though, because sometimes I open junk mail just to kind of see marketing wise, just to see what techniques they're using, and there's a lot of junk mail, way more manipulative and persuasive and deceptive than ours is. Ours literally says, "Hey, we'd like to buy your house. We'll make you a cash offer. Call this number." I mean, it's pretty much as transparent, as basic as you could possibly be. And I open mail pieces all the time that say things, they disguise themselves as some type of reward. And really it's just a way to try to refinance your car loan or, refi something. And they disguise it as an offer, like like almost like it's a check.
Yeah.
It's very deceptive, but I just go, that's kind of cute, and toss it in the garbage. Never once have I wanted to drive to wherever their company headquarters were and confront them. I just find that interesting, and what a waste of energy and time that is.
Yeah. Hey, when you talk about deceptive mail, this year I got a We Buy Houses card in the mail too, and it was a card. It looked like because it's the holidays, I thought it was a Christmas card. So it did trick me into opening it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but as a marketing professional yourself, you just said, "Well, that's pretty slick. It got me to open it," and you took note of that. And that something like that's way more deceptive than the postcards that we're sending. But I just thought that it was so interesting that he would take time out of his day to really. And what is he going to do? Well, in his mind, how is that scenario going to end? He was going to see us. We were going to apologize profusely, and then he would get his way. I mean, I don't even know what he expected to have happen. And I just explained to him that we just pay for a list, and a mail house mails all these things, and we have pretty little control over it, and we'll give him his address, but if he gets another one, just please toss it in the garbage with our apologies. That's what else can we do? And it made me think, like, am I falling victim to similar types of wasted energy moments? Another one that, and this is one I've sort of vaccinated myself against, and not really real estate specific, but just like arguments on Facebook about politics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen these things just go down the spiral of hundreds of comments. Somebody says something, someone doesn't like it, and they just get into this big argument. And at the end, no one is convinced of anything. No one's learned anything. And how much time and energy have you wasted trying to convince someone you're never going to be able to convince of your political viewpoint is correct? Just what a waste of time. And there's people that do that on a daily basis. Just hours and hours of wasted energy.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the podcasts recently that I've removed from my podcast player is some of the political ones, because in the end, you're stuck in your own echo chamber, and it's all it's doing is adding to the noise and anxiety that you're dealing with far bigger things that you can control personally and locally.
Yeah, that's true, because if let's say we didn't even know who the president was, or who our senators were. I mean, a lot of this stuff, if you don't have the news feed constantly in your face, it really doesn't affect your day-to-day life barely at all. Like there's some bigger things, tax consequences, things like that will affect us as real estate investors. But beyond that, the daily arguments and struggles that go on with politics don't really concern us at the local level. And so is it really the best use of your time consuming that material? Probably not.
Well, this kind of goes to, you and I have had this conversation before, because I don't really follow even local news. Somebody asked me not too long ago, like, well, how do I know if this or that has happened or something's going on? If it's important, somebody will typically tell me.
Right, or it'll bubble up like in your Twitter timeline or Facebook timeline. If something major happens, you're definitely going to be made aware.
Yeah, so I just don't fill up or add to the noise of life with just the local news anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's why we always make sure when we're consuming material, it's educational, personal growth related, real estate related. So hopefully it's actually moving your life in a positive direction instead of spinning your wheels, or worse, moving you backwards. So we tried to think of ways that this relates directly to real estate investing. And I think one way is the market, right? You can't fight the market. It's just a giant, behemoth that's going to happen to you, whether you're prepared or not. So all you can do is adapt to the changing market as it changes around you, right? Like, for instance, vacancies happen to be really high at some point. You have to be able to ride that out. Could you consider a different exit strategy for a property? Let's say you thought you were going to rent the house and vacancies were high. You couldn't get it rented. Could you sell it? Could you sell it to another investor? You have to be adaptable, but you can't make the market lower their vacancy percentage, or you can't make, the average appreciation in your market double. Those are things you can't control. So don't waste your time on it. And one way that I see this occur in real life is when people flip a property in not that great of a neighborhood, and they think just because they really improved the property nicely that they are going to get all that money back, and they can far exceed the average price of a home in the neighborhood. And honestly, no matter how gold-plated you make everything, you can't do that. And a house is going to sell for right around the top end, if it's really nice, the top end of what the neighborhood average is, but you can't really exceed that by more than a few percent. And if you try to do that, that's just fighting the market, and you just can't do it.
Well, that's a really good comparison. We've seen that happen a few times, haven't we, where people fall into that trap. It might be a really great house, but that long-standing rule, you can't be the most expensive property on the block, and you can't be the cheapest. You want to land in the middle there. So, yeah, and we are you're seeing this quite a bit right now with a lot of other online Facebook posts and podcasts, and I think it's becoming a little clickbaity with the upcoming market downturn. We're seeing that a lot right now. And I think it's scaring a lot of people. And in the end, like you said, you can only control what you can control. And adapting to the market and probably changing your buying parameters in order to anticipate what might happen. But in the end, you're really going to be subject to what's currently going on. Mm-hmm. So adapt, change, move forward.
Right. Another one is, that you shouldn't waste time worrying about or getting mad about is like when repairs occur. We recently had a big cold snap here in our area, and for the first time that happens every year, pipes start to freeze. We had a furnace go out, things like that. And that's why it's important to set aside and segment a portion of your rents to cover those repairs. So when it comes time, you just replace the furnace, and it's just, that was, that's going to be a few years of cash flow for that property. When you go to a certain size, then you can just kind of ride that out. And it would be a waste of energy to really get upset about a furnace dying, because they have a life cycle just like any other appliance or any other piece of machinery in your life. And when it's time to go, they're gonna go, and you're gonna have to pay for that. So, just when you assume that that's going to happen, then you're not surprised by it and you're not mad about it. It's just the normal course of events.
Yeah, that's, the weather is one of those things we definitely can't be too concerned about, especially in a market such as ours where we literally had probably a 40 to 50 degree swing over the past 2 days.
Yeah, we had a blizzard and it was super freezing. So we just got our snow removal bill for our properties. We have snow removal done, and it was double what it normally is because we hit a threshold of snow being deep enough where they had to go around twice, or it was just a lot more work, so they bill you at a higher rate. It'd be a waste of energy to get upset about that. Like I said, controlling the weather, boy, that's the ultimate waste of energy, worrying about what the weather does, right?
Yeah, definitely the situation. And I guess we can tie this into 2 episodes ago, we talked about struggle porn, and there's a lot of things that we could probably expound upon there. But in the end, what we're trying to say is try to avoid those situations that are just consuming mental cycles and things that you can't directly control, because in the end, it's just wasted energy. You'd be better off trying to combat the weather. Or beat the wind.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's one of the main reasons why we're in real estate and not in the stock market, because we want to have control over our investments versus, somebody has their money in a retirement fund, invested in a mutual fund or stocks. you literally have no control over what happens at that corporation. And we want to have control over our money and our investments and control that return. And that's why we're real estate investors. So spend your days focusing on things that you can control and that move you forward and your business and your life forward in a positive direction. And if you feel the urge to go drive down to yell at someone for sending you junk mail, I would suggest you repress that urge and take up yoga.
Yeah. You know what? Instead of taking that time and energy to do that, why don't you call one of those 5 people that you hang out with that you can lift each other up and try to turn something good in it. You know, it's good to vent and get something off your mind if that's what needs to happen. But learn from the experience and find something positive out of it.
Yep.
Well, we put a lot of effort and thought and time into these podcasts. If you found some value in it, we would love your support over at patreon.com/REI Rookies.
If you have any suggestions for upcoming episodes or topics, shoot us an email at info@reiRookies.com, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at REI Rookies.
And if you like what you're hearing, head over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps other rookie investors find the show. And remember, get off the bench
and get into the game. We'll see you next time.
I don't like to tell a man what to do with his money, but if you ain't investing in property, then you're dumber than a dummy.
I'm not dumb. I'm smart.
Well, buy property. That's my advice.